Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're tuned. Oh, my name is JT and you're watching Black Box Trading. So glad that you can make it to the live stream. Let's fucking go. All right, so we got to take a look at Bitcoin. Man, the S&P was not in our favor last night, but I thought we held up pretty well. Are we at a higher price? No, we're at a lower price, but compared to what we saw in the equities market, like when's the last time you saw the equities market dump 5% and Bitcoin's daily candle closed less than 1%? So a little bit of a divergence there. Yes, we are seeing lower prices, but they're not severe when they should be. So is that some underlying strength in the market? We'll dive into that. Let's just dive right in here and take a look at the king of all crypto, that is Bitcoin. We're going to start things off here on the daily chart, and we're being extra cautious. We're being extra cautious about our analysis because you got to look at this and you got to be honest with yourself. This is a rather distributional consolidation. So we need to approach this carefully. I'm not making any major position changes to any of my portfolio as it stands right now. But we are watching this kind of develop in real time, and it's worth just making some notes of. Now, the concern that we have right now is this retest, this bearish retest of the underside of the channel, is this an LPSY? For those who are not Wyckofians, which is pretty much damn everybody, so don't worry about it, that stands for last point of supply. So it's kind of like the last area of available or supply to hit the market before a continuation of the local trend, which is currently down. We have lower highs and lower lows, with the exception of this one area right here that we've already made note of, where we have a low, a lower low, and a potential higher low. And we couple that up with a low, a higher low, and a potential higher low. And to me, that's a recipe for a possible floor. The thing that we really need, and if we don't get from traditional finance, if we don't get a little bit of bullishness from traditional finance, if we don't get a little bit of cooperation from the indexes, then this will likely resolve to the downside. So full disclosure, just be prepared that if the S&P 500, if the NASDAQ doesn't cooperate and continues in a downtrend, Bitcoin's going to follow suit, and it's probably going to reach some sort of point of equilibrium where the people who are on the fence as to whether we're at a floor or not are going to capitulate, and we can head down to lower levels. All that bearishness being said, I do think that, we are showing some comparative strength here. We are showing some comparative strength. Like I said, Checkmate, if you guys aren't following Checkmatey, by the way, on Twitter, fantastic on-chain analyst, but he brings up a very good point. When was the last time you recall Bitcoin being down less than 1% when equities puked more than 5% on the day? And it hasn't been, we haven't seen that. We haven't seen that in a while. So Bitcoin's holding itself up okay. Now, diving into some smaller time frames in the local range. So the daily gives us kind of a macro picture as to the entire consolidation, this large range between 180K, 100K and 80K. Going down into the 4 hour, we can kind of dissect, we can dissect that area that we're concerned about, this potential last point of supply. And it does look distributional. We've got kind of our up thrust after distribution. We have an up thrust right here. An up thrust is characterized by a breakout and a smackdown in price. Those aren't the healthiest things to see in the market. What you want to see is kind of tightening of a consolidation, whether it's tightening up or tightening down, just smaller rallies and smaller reactions throughout the consolidation. That's what you would like to see, paired with decline in volume. When we take a look at volume is increasing here, which isn't, this was a large event. Whatever this was a breakout liquidation event. So we had a breakout. We'll get into the chart that we have to trade on. But yeah, we had this breakout and fake out. So obviously on a breakout fake out day, you're going to have high volume, but we also have high volume here. The interesting thing is here. So we actually had this question in the Discord yesterday. How do you interpret volume? And it's a really good question, and it's a nuanced question. And the easiest way that I can break it down is volume is effort, price is result. Okay, so it's that balance between effort and result. So with that in mind, we actually have a pretty good case to be made here between these two volume signatures right here. So we'll do a little bit of volume analysis, just kind of paint a picture as to what we're talking about here. But you know, we had the breakout, and then a lot of effort was applied. Okay, we can see the effort here. This is the volume. A volume is the effort. So a lot of effort was applied. And what was the result? The result was a large move to the downside. So we can tell that the effort applied was high selling volume. Like I said, I think it was a liquidation cascade for people who used too much leverage on the breakout. But right next to it, we have basically an equal candle. We have, you know, maybe a quarter of the size. It's about 20 to 25% smaller. So 20 to 25% less volume on this candle. But look at the result. The result is not much of a move. So that's a big difference between the two. You know, this is probably 20% of the move. And this, you know, 100% of this effort went to 100% of the result. 100% of this effort went to about a 20% result. So what does that tell us? This is where reading volume can get a little bit confusing for newer investors. You need to determine, okay, well, if we had a lot of effort applied and not a lot of result, that can only mean one thing. It means that lots of people are selling and lots of people are buying at the same time. So there's a ton of sell volume coming in, and there's a ton of buy volume coming in, and as a result, the price doesn't move as much. So this is actually a good sign. This is a good sign that it's leaning into the possibility, at least on the short term, that we could rally off of this level, because enough of the bulls showed up to counterbalance the amount of selling that was coming in as well. So just a little, you know, lesson on volume. But what do we need to see? What do we need to see? Okay, we're done on volume. We can put the volume away. What do we need to see? We need to reclaim this kind of blue box. We need to reclaim this blue box here. So if we can do a lot of repair over the next few hours, that would be ideal. And then we go back to cooperation with the S&P. At the U.S. Open, has been a very volatile time, specifically this week, since Trump's not Independence Day. I always call it Independence Day. It's not Independence Day. The Liberation Day. Since Liberation Day, the S&P has been, that U.S. Open has been kind of the make or break. Like the market, for the most part, doesn't even really move until the U.S. Open, and then we get some sort of a resolve. So is today going to be any different? Probably not. What we need to see from the S&P is we need to see the S&P rally. So we'll cover the S&P in a moment, but really we need to get back on top of this line. We need to get back on top of this blue line sitting at around 84,000. If we can reclaim 84, that's a positive sign that we can go and retest the area of the breakout. I think at this point we can move over to that breakout chart. We can retest where we had the failed breakout. Let's go over to we'll do the hourly. So we have this long downward sloping line of resistance. We had that breakout, up thrust, smacked right back down. So if we can reclaim that $84,000 level, we have, and the S&P cooperates and we actually get a green day on the S&P, which is not far-fetched. Usually when you have a 5% red day in the indexes, there's a little bit of a rebound the next day. So if we can get that rebound and clear out of here, get above this downward sloping line of resistance, that's going to be a really good sign in the market. I'm going to remain bullish for the time being. And I'm long. I'm still long on this. So if you've been in the private group, we've been in a long that's been, man, it's been underwater, above water, and we're paying a lot of margin, and we're not really making too much headway. But we're hanging in there. We're hanging in there. The trade hasn't stopped us out yet, so we'll see. We'll see. All right, let's quickly catch up with the chat. How many people watching? We got 16 people watching on YouTube. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and 6 people watching on X. And one lonely guy on Twitch. I don't know why we're not getting much volume on Twitch, but shout out to the guy watching on Twitch. Shout out to Animosity, catching up with the chat here. No man Lantinus, man, you got to phonetically spell that out for me so that I can get your name right. Good morning from Bangkok. Nearly every time I hear, but X asset didn't go down as much as others, it's usually just a few days away from tanking. I would say that that's a fair statement, certainly in the area of altcoins, because you hear that all the time with altcoins. Like, some obscure piece of shit that nobody's ever heard of didn't go down, and now Bitcoin dumped 5%, and Squirrel coins didn't move at all. No, it's just a reflection of a lack of volume. We don't have a lack of volume on Bitcoin. Bitcoin's one of the most liquid assets in the world. It certainly has real-time reflection of price, in my opinion. So, yeah, I mean, we'll see. Fukumoto, see you at 71K. Possibly. It could go deeper. It could go deeper. You shorting? What's your plan? Gary Garrettson, BTC holding rather well given the S&P 500 is doing. Yep, exactly. Good for you grinding away, bro. Doing my best. Sup, nerds? Good luck, Duck. How's it going? Duck Lord, haven't seen you in a while. Nice to see you in the chat. Yeah, so that's what we need to see on Bitcoin. I would love to see us give another attempt at this downward sloping line of resistance. So if we can reclaim that 84, get back on top of this, and my word, if we can get back on top of it and hold it as support, we're off to the races. There is so much fear in the market, and it's hard to be a bull when everybody's afraid. It's just, the nature of the beast. But I'm not here to pander to your insecurities. As calloused as that sounds, I'm here to make money. And when everybody's afraid, I get bullish. When everybody's bullish and euphoric, I get bearish. And everybody's bearish. The whole market, doesn't matter where you turn. Trump's going to ruin the fucking world. Trump's going to collapse the entire economic system. Sure, but not when everybody expects it. Not when everybody expects it, because that's not how markets move. When everybody's afraid, nobody trades. There's no volume. Everybody's shorting. You're loading the cannon for up only price. And then there's nothing like a change in price to give a change in sentiment. This is actually probably a good time to move over to the S&P, because we've been referencing the S&P a lot. And when we take a look at the S&P, yeah, we got a new low. But we have a gap up here. We have a gap to fill. And I just think that, it's very rare that people are afraid of some news event that is occurring, and then said news event comes out, and then we just continue to go down. Because, again, who's selling? If everybody's afraid, who's selling? I just don't think that the world works like that. Smart money, you got to think, what is the composite operator trying to do? So go back to kind of the theory of Wyckoff. What is the composite operator trying to do? Because you always need to think of the market in terms of an opponent. Do you think the opponent is going to allow most of the market to think that we are bearish and then the prices will go down? 9 times out of 10, no. The opponent is going to lull you into a short position. The opponent is going to convince you to sell your bags. The opponent is going to do anything to shake you out of position. And then the opponent is going to rally the market to have you FOMO in at a higher price so that they can sell to you at a higher price. It's not manipulation. It's just the way the market works. Richard D. Wyckoff was a really brilliant trader back in the 1920s, and he framed this way of thinking when interpreting the market. So he calls it the composite operator. What does composite mean? Composite means many different parts put all together. And that's exactly what the market is. The market is this being of everybody's opinion coming together. Smart money, dumb money, advanced algos, hedge funds that just do whatever. They're not even looking or interested in price. They're just buying at set amounts or selling at set amounts. There's so many different pieces of the market that they make up this entity called the composite operator. And the herd is always wrong. So, I'm leaning bullish in the short term. And we'll leave it at that. All right, let's catch up with the chat. Thanks for streaming, Big Dog. No problem, Duck. Not a short-term trader, but I do the same when everyone else is super bearish. That's usually when we get our massive moves up. Exactly. Wedge since October 24 just broke out. We might have it drawn a little bit differently. Wedge from 2024 just broke out. You're going to have to show me what time frame you're looking on that. Wedge from 2024 just broke out. Please give us more information on what you mean by that. Still unconfirmed until the end of this week's. Battered and bruised sats with the puking emoji. Yeah, man. Every single time anybody brings up ordinals, what do I say? It's not time. It's not time. It's not time. It's not time for ordinals. Nothing's changed. It's not time for ordinals. Not time for ordinals means pukey face. Here's a question though. Most people have negative sentiment, and you're assuming that they have also sold, but how do you know they sold? I didn't, for example, and my sentiment is low. It's a fair point, but most of the market is emotional. Animosity, you've been in the market for a long time. So I don't know what your portfolio looks like, but given the amount of time that you've been in the market, you're kind of trending towards the groupthink of smart money. Most people fall under the category of dumb money because they're new, they're not really plugged in, they're not paying attention, and they apply too much logic to expectation. So, logically, tariffs are a bad thing. Logically, that means the prices are going to go down. Logically, I should get out of the market, or logically, I should try and make money off of this on the short side. But anybody who's been in the market long enough knows that there's no logic. There's no logic to the markets. And in fact, the thing that makes the least amount of sense is usually going to be the most profitable thing to happen. More often than not. Obviously, there's edge cases everywhere in the world. There's edge cases with everything. At the end of the day, these markets are random. They're going to do what they're going to do because they have to do them. And that's it. These are just monkeys buying and selling bananas. We don't know what the monkeys are going to do. But we do notice patterns. We do notice probabilities, and we can line up with sentiment. And more often than not, the dominant logical narrative is not how things play out. A perfect example is, the COVID shakeout. The world was ending. Everybody was selling stocks. Everybody was selling equities. Everybody was selling everything, and they were buying toilet paper. What happened after that? The biggest rally we've seen in in the stock market in decades. Completely illogical. The world had nobody working. It was completely illogical. So logic doesn't find its way into financial markets very often. Watch the ES1 if you want the CME. I haven't found that to be too useful. I've been watching it. It keeps going down, and then the official bell open on the spot S&P, it just brings it back up. We'll give you after hours for S&P, but not usually much going on. Still hoping we have a bullish divergence at 72. If we get 72, I think that's logical. Bold 6 talking about dominance, BTC dominance weekly. Okay, perfect. We will take a look at that. Rob theorem. How does the monthly chart on BTC look to you? Well, we have a lot of months left. I think right now we have a bearish engulfing. Okay. We have a bearish engulfing for the month of February. We have a doji for the month of March. If we get a bullish engulfing, which isn't that hard, we have 26 days to be above $84,000. If we get a bullish engulfing on the Monday, that's your classic 3-bar reversal. So your 1, 2, 3-bar reversal. If this current candle closes bullish, anything above 84, the higher above 84, the better, because it's going to show the strength of that 3-bar reversal. The following candle after that, May, which we've been calling for a long time as kind of our acceleration month, our true breakout month is going to be in May. If we see that, we're off to the races, man. We're off to the races. So the monthly chart doesn't look that bad. It's just, this candle is going to be the decider. This is the deciding candle. Is this going to print a continuation candle, or is this going to print a reversal candle? If we get that bullish engulfing, that's a reversal candle. If we get anything below that or anything red, it's continuation candle, and we'll probably see a similar candle to this candle, which was 17% down. So if this candle closes the month in 26 days below 84,000, don't be surprised to see it at 68,000. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Maybe even as low as this wick low here at 67,000. So, but if this candle closes bullish, then May is going to be a breakout all-time high month. April's got a big responsibility. April's got a big responsibility here. That's where the wedge since October 24th broke out. Bitcoin dominance weekly. We'll take a look. Coming of LPS could be SOS phase beginning, but still unconfirmed. Yeah, we have a lot of work to do before we get to the SOS. Bitcoin dominance may be topping. We'll take a look. It'll probably top in May. Looks like it's filling a big wick, at least. All right, everybody's talking about Bitcoin dominance. Let's go over to Bitcoin dominance, because I agree with a lot of things that are being said. So we'll cover the wedge in just a moment, but here on the monthly, this wick. So who said the wick? Bold is talking to Mauricio, saying that it's likely there's a filling of the wick. I totally agree with that. I totally agree that we are going to come up and fill this wick. So that's going to bring us around 65% dominance. I cannot wait. I cannot wait to start being bullish on alts, as I've mentioned numerous times. It's just so much better for the channel when I'm bullish on alts. But yeah, we're getting close. We're getting close every day for months and months and months. I'm like, we're getting close, guys. We're getting close. We're getting really close to altcoin season. But it's true. It's true. It's coming. If we're expecting an acceleration in May for Bitcoin, altcoin season is either going to arrive at the same time, or it's going to be shortly behind. So we'll have to see. April is a really important, as we've explained, as as Roy has pointed out. Let's go over to the weekly chart and talk about this wedge. And this wedge from 2024. So I guess we're looking at it like this. This is what we're talking about. Yeah, a break. Yeah, I mean, we don't need to add the wedge. You know, it's broken that resistance on a weekly candle. So it's going to get worse for alts before it gets better. It's going to get worse for alts before it gets better. That's if you've been holding this far, like if you've been holding the whole duration in alts, I'm not trying to scare you out of positions here. You missed your chance to sell. You know, not financial advice. I can't really tell you what to do with your trades or investments, but just, I wouldn't be, if it was me, emphasis on if it was me, I would not be selling. I would be planning and stacking for the pivot so that I can bring down my average price when I think that altcoin season has arrived. And then that will bring my cost basis to a much more achievable level, especially if you're down 90%, you have no choice but to add. Again, not financial advice. I really hate telling people to buy or to sell anything. But if you are 90% down on something and your expectation is to just wait to come back, bro, like you need to rally so far. Whereas now you have the opportunity to double your position for a tenth of the cost. So consider doubling your position so that your cost basis comes down at least 50% lower than where it was. And then don't do it next time. Listen to Bitcoin Dominance next time. You know, we're not trying to repair things in real time. We're trying to mitigate, we're trying to learn, and then we can, you know, learn from our mistakes for the next cycle. Been holding for years. All right. I think Bitcoin Dominance in May will be 73%. I could see it. Let's mark it down. Fuck it, 73%. I don't know what you're looking at, but I'm smoking it. I like it. 73%. A lot of people get scared by that number. Fuck them. The higher Bitcoin dominance climbs, the more extreme your altcoin season will be. And let's make it yellow. The higher Bitcoin dominance climbs, the more extreme your altcoin season will be. So as terrible as it's going to be for your altcoin bags for Bitcoin to literally go up to 73,000, I would like you to explain where you get that number. I like the number, but please explain. You're thinking we get up to this tip here, I'm guessing. The higher we climb, the better. Because the higher we climb, the higher we can fall, the further we can fall. And this is altcoin season, ladies and gentlemen. Look at it. It's very easy to identify. Super easy to identify. It's just fucking red after red after red after red after red, just falling, collapsing, making bank. So you want it to keep going. I'm being a little bit more conservative and expecting some sort of a rotation after this wick fill at 64. But my God, if we go up to 73, that's going to be spectacular. If we go up to 73 in reverse, that will be an insane altcoin season. And I'm ready. All right, let's catch up with the chat here. I'm kind of losing really good engagement in the chat today, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for all your comments. Some days it's a ghost town. Other days we're getting a lot. We have half as many people viewing today, and we have twice as many comments. So keep them coming. Keep them coming. Yeah, Rect Capital keeps saying it goes to 72. Okay. Thanks, man. Learning so much from your channel. You're very welcome. If you're learning a lot from the channel, get into the Discord, brother. It's free. And you can ask anything you want. We can show, and we got a lot of learning material in there as well. Depends what your goals are. Can't wait, man. Trump has to stop. Fuck around and find out. I think Trump knows exactly what he's doing. And I think he's setting up the stock market for a rally. What easier way to set up the stock market for a rally than to put a bunch of negative press out there to suppress the price? The rebound correction on just a little bit of positive news is going to be incredible. He knows what the fuck he's doing. He knows what he's doing. He's not a dumb man. Love him or hate him, you can't deny that he is. You can't say that he's stupid. Nobody gets to where he is being a stupid man. Based on that tip, yeah, okay. I'm looking at the weekly. Yep, I'm waiting. Or just altcoins collapse completely. Everything's a possibility. Eventually they will. So that's actually a pretty interesting comment. So, I have maintained a very strong Bitcoin maxi presence on this channel, and that ain't going to change. But let's talk about what it means to see altcoins die forever. And again, this goes back to Bitcoin dominance. So just temporarily, let's remove everything. I'll put it back in just a moment. And let's pretend that the top is kind of in, or let's pretend this is kind of the top right here. This is the top. And this is the bottom. So if we're going to continue to be range bound in here, this is what it looks like for altcoins to die. So we rally up, we get an incredible altcoin season. Then next cycle comes along. Next cycle's building, Bitcoin's doing great. We get to peak euphoria, altcoins fall. Same thing happens again. Next cycle, Bitcoin climbs, altcoins fall. Eventually, there's just no more juice to squeeze. And then eventually as well, we will fall out of the consolidation and go to the downside. A lot of people will be like, well, no, we'll break out one day and altcoins will take over. No, they won't. The stance that I have maintained for years, and the stance that I will continue to maintain, is that blockchain is technology, but blockchain is not the technology sector. Blockchain is a protocol. So while Apple, Google, Facebook, they're all bringing technologies into the world, none of those are protocols. So why there's a distinction for me is technology companies and technology movements and technology foundations, they are winner take most until a better thing comes. So a good example of that is Google. Google pretty much owns the internet. Between Google and Amazon, Google is the gold standard for searching the internet, so much so that Google became a verb. So it's fair to say that Google is winner take most until something new and better comes along. AI, ChatGPT. I don't know if you guys have gotten into the habit of using ChatGPT as opposed to Google, but ChatGPT is way better for your end user experience than Google is. So it's winner take most until there's a new big thing. But with protocols, it's different, because protocols is a language of building. This is why we only have one internet. This is why we only have one email protocol. This is the key distinction between protocols and technologies. Bitcoin is a protocol, and protocols are winner take all. Protocols are winner take all. All of your throughput, all of your privacy arguments, everything that you can say that like, oh, well, this altcoin does it better. Yes, today it does it better. If it's a really good idea, it's going to be implemented onto Bitcoin. Why? Because Bitcoin is a protocol. You can build on top of it. So eventually, I anticipate that these ebbs and flows of the Bitcoin dominance chart are going to flow back, and Bitcoin dominance one day, sorry, I had that wrong, saying that the altcoins die when this falls out. In actuality, altcoins die when it breaks out, and altcoin dominance climbs back up to the level of 100%. We re-meet this resistance. So I misspoke there, if anybody caught that. So eventually, we will have this consolidation break to the upside as the market realizes that, I guess, protocols are winner take all, and we will go back to where we came from. So this is just a blip. This is a testnet technology cycle blip. How long is that going to take to play out? Decades. So if you're worried about your altcoin investments when some fucking maxi tells you like everything's going to zero, don't be worried, because you have decades of the market trying to figure this out. Decades. So don't worry about it. Don't worry about anything that I'm saying, because none of it affects you in the short term. If it's not a very big inconvenience, could you stream at an Eastern/US Canada time? Yeah, that's coming. So if you don't know, I'm a digital nomad. I'm all over the world. Dubai kind of sucks as far as timing things with North America. It was easier for me to time things with North America when I was in Asia. So I'm always moving around, and I'm going to be spending a few months in Canada, actually. So just as a default, I'm not staying up at 3 o'clock in the morning to stream to the US. I have my life. I live my life. I do it on my own routine. So as a result of my routine, I will absolutely be streaming during North American time zones. So when would you expect that Bitcoin dominance wedge to hit the apex? I have no idea. I mean, it can ebb and flow, like I said, for decades. It can go well into the 2040s. It could be that it breaks out today and we actually never get an altcoin season. It's anywhere between we're never getting an altcoin season today to we have altcoin seasons till like 2040. I have no idea. No idea. Seb, nice to see you in the chat. Caught a live stream. Welcome in. What do you think about Jack Dorsey saying that the success of Bitcoin depends on it not being just a store of value? 100% agree. 100% agree. And Bitcoin won't just be a store of value. Bitcoin gets better for payments every single day. I live on a Bitcoin standard. Is it the easiest thing in the world? No. But I live on a Bitcoin standard. I earn Bitcoin and I spend Bitcoin. I haven't touched $1 in years. So it is possible. And if it's possible for me today, it's possible for others today. I'm not alone in this. There are thousands of people just like me. And as Bitcoin gets more and more adopters and more businesses trend towards wanting to hold Bitcoin on the balance sheet, you're going to see employees taking a portion of their salary in Bitcoin. You're going to see it take shape. Do I think that the whole world can operate on Lightning? No, I don't. Do I think that the whole world should operate on Liquid? No, I don't. I don't think that we actually have the layer 2 scaling solution that's going to scale along with the world just yet. But that's the beautiful thing about protocols. You can always build. You can always build on top of the protocols in different secondary layers. And there will be, if you talk to the Bitcoiners of previous cycles, it's never been easier to spend Bitcoin. It's never been easier to live off of a Bitcoin standard. So we're already on a trend of adoption and ease of use. So eventually, it's just going to get easier and easier. And if you have governments accepting it, they're going to figure out ways that they can take it from you, whether it's through whatever. They're going to figure out ways to get your Bitcoin, whether it's through automatic tax payments, whatever the case may be. They're going to be creative when they know that they want something. And as a result of them wanting it, there's going to be more applications and more ways for you to pay and more ways for you to operate on this Bitcoin standard. And it's just going to get easier. I 100% agree with Jack Dorsey. If Bitcoin doesn't end up being the dominant payment system, it's failed. It affects you if you're holding your altcoin for multiple cycle and it never goes back to where you originally bought it. Yeah, I mean, shit happens, man. Not to sound totally calloused, but does that mean you hold no Bitcoin? Because there's a lesson there. You should always hold Bitcoin. Bitcoin is the winner. To not hold any Bitcoin is a reflection, and please don't take this the wrong way, but to hold 0 Bitcoin is either a reflection of not doing enough research on Bitcoin, or it's a reflection of greed because you always wanted to have more. I don't know you. I don't know your story, and I don't want to come across as insulting, but if you hold no Bitcoin, then in my opinion, you haven't given Bitcoin enough of a chance to really learn about what makes it special. Because when I look at everything else out in the market, there's nothing that is as decentralized and as censorship resistant and as just rock solid as Bitcoin. Nothing else even comes close. So if you haven't quite made it there yet, that's nobody's fault. It's nobody's fault. But this is a confusing space. It's a confusing space. Don't worry about it. But if you have a wallet, you're going to be wealthy, in my opinion. If you have a wallet and you know how Bitcoin transactions work, if you know how DeFi works, if you know how seed phrases work, you have a set of skills that 99% of the world does not have. And if you think in the short term that's going to hurt you, dude, in the long term, you have the set of skills that is going to put you far above the rest. And it seems so silly, like, oh, I know how to do a transaction, or I know how a multi-sig wallet works, or I know how, a seed phrase works, and I know how to restore a wallet. Like, those skills are simple to us now. Those will be unheard of skills in the future. You'll be able to start businesses based off of those skills. And I know that sounds silly, but like, the point I'm trying to make here is you really are truly early. You are very early. This is nowhere near the adoption that we're going to see. And for Bitcoin to really get to the point of what I'm talking about, we are talking about decades. Hyper-Bitcoinization is not happening this cycle. Hyper-Bitcoinization is not happening next cycle. Hyper-Bitcoinization is happening 10, 15 years down the road. So you got plenty of time. No matter what you've done, you'll make it all back. Even if the alts never come back, you'll make it all back. EOS much? EOS. Good Lord. EOS. Are we seriously talking about EOS? Ugh. No, we are not. We are not talking about EOS. Nice little daily candle, though. 38% down. That's not bad when you're 99% down. I'm trolling, bud. I'm trolling. I live in Canada. The timing is great, I think. Okay. By the way, the whole UTXO aspect of Bitcoin is an absolute nightmare for ordinals adoption. When I came into crypto in 2019, I thought ETH and gas was hard to understand to a noob, but UTXOs are on a different level. Yeah, UTXOs are not easy for people to understand. They're kind of simple to explain, but the whole space is just so hard to understand. It's not the responsibility of the end user to manage UTXOs. So this is, again, a reflection of how early we are. The fact that you and I are having to manage and consolidate UTXOs is a measure of how early we are. We shouldn't. That's early days of the internet. You needed to like connect a router, and then you'd have a peer and a seed and all this shit that you would have to do. And now when you go on the internet, you just press Safari, boom, on the internet. So the same thing will happen with the UTXOs. Nobody's going to manage UTXOs, but UTXOs will be a skill set. If you know UTXO management, you could fucking work for a bank or a custodial service because you just understand UTXOs. That goes back to what I'm saying, that the skills you're learning today are going to be very valuable in the future because nobody's going to understand what the fuck a UTXO is. And as far as ordinals being the whole ordinals thing, that's going to die. You know, I'm bullish on ordinals, but they're shit coins. You know, we're going to have an ordinal cycle. And then it's done. And this is a good segue into ordinals. And then it's done. You know, all this shit about bitmaps and NAT and all that shit is gonna die. It's gonna be gone forever. Don't worry about it. We're going to be the beneficiary of the speculation this cycle, but don't hold those things into the next cycle. They're gonna be trash because all of the asset creation is going to go onto secondary layers. We're already seeing it with C Lightning. So where is Tether minting their Tether for the Bitcoin network? They are minting and creating tokenized assets on C Lightning. So it just makes absolutely no sense to create tokenized assets on the base layer. So all that shit, I mean, thank you ordinal community, because you just burned millions and millions and millions of sats, 546 sats at a time. It'll all go away. It'll all go away. So after the end of the bull market, you convert your BTC to USD or other currency. Well, for the I would do a portion of that. Yeah, I would figure some sort of stable hedge, but I typically don't hold currencies. So there's other ways to hedge. Can you check a CLSK chart with your indicators? A NASDAQ stock? Sure, but we were going to talk about ordinals first. So bitmaps was requested. It's going up. You know, you had your little pop here. Came down to a floor. The floor was at, it doesn't even zoom in that far. It's so many zeros, it doesn't register. But we had that little pop. So we have a change of character here. We have kind of broken the downtrend. We've gotten above the previous high and we're holding it as support, nice rounded support. And we got another little pop. Pullback now, but you know, it's beginning to start a little bit of an uptrend. I'm starting to see more bullish sentiment towards bitmaps in general on Twitter. Guys, the ordinals, they're gonna have another go. Everything kind of goes in two cycles during a cycle. You have the initial cycle, that's kind of the innovation cycle where new things are happening. And where did all the new things happen this cycle? 90% in my anecdotal observations, 90% of the truly new things, new protocols, new tokens, new architectural design happened on Bitcoin with the ordinals market. So that's the innovation cycle. Then you have a cool down period. And, you know, cool down is like a really lightly way of saying all of it goes to zero. But you have that cool down period. And then you have the hype cycle. So the hype cycle is where it gets insane. And I'm still waiting for that hype cycle to take effect. But then when the hype cycle is done, I'm done with ordinals. I'm like, I don't give a shit about runes. I don't give a shit about ordinals. All that stuff is gobbledygook. It's fugazi fucking fake bullshit. Because the next cycle, it's going to be something new. And it's going to be assets, you know, created on C Lightning or whatever. You know, the next cycle, in my opinion, as far as token creation, you're going to see a lot more happening on the Lightning Network. I think the Lightning Network is really going to get stress tested next cycle with a lot of bullshit. It's not going to be ordinals. So just be prepared to say goodbye to your favorite projects. Or keep them as a memento. keep one or two as a memento. I might keep a Nat Cat as a memento. How about DMT? All of it. All of it. We don't need it. All of it's gone. It's a fun narrative. Listen, guys, don't lose sight. Like this, everything trades to zero against Bitcoin. Show me a chart that doesn't trade to zero against Bitcoin. Everything trades to zero against Bitcoin. If you want to hold DMT, for the culture, go ahead. It's going to have a cycle. It's going to have a go. It's going to be great. You're going to make a lot of money, and then you got to sell it because DMT ain't doing shit. It's not the future. It's not going to be needed. Am I doing that thing again where I piss everybody off and get people unsubscribed? Am I hurting my channel again? All right, somebody wanted to take a look at a stock. ClearSpark. I met those guys. Those guys are chill. Those are chill dude. CleanSpark. I met them at Unconfiscatable in Vegas. Really cool dudes. There was a very interesting panel about Bitcoin mining. And they talked about, there's kind of three categories of Bitcoin miners. There are rabbits, there are horses, and there are captive elephants. So the captive elephant is going to be your CleanSpark. CleanSpark, massive, publicly traded company, huge regulatory oversight. Ultimately, they are within the confines of the regulatory and judicial borders. They need to comply with certain U.S. sanctions and regulations and blah, 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 blah. They will probably become OFAC compliant as well unless they start running decentralized block headers. They're considered a captive elephant. They're a powerhouse. They do nothing but really, really support the network, but they're vulnerable to influence from outside sources. Then you have the horses. The horses are going to be kind of your more gray area regulated mines. They're not going to be nearly as big. Those mines are kind of scattered in loose gray legal systems where you kind of don't really know the operations, or the government's not interested in the operations, but there's still a medium-sized farm. And then you have the rabbits, and the rabbits are your kind of your renegade miners, your large scale home miner operations that might be off grid. They might be in isolated areas where nobody really knows what they're doing, and those will never get shut down. It's like you kill one rabbit, there's 5 more rabbits. So very interesting panel, but anyways, that has nothing to do with this stock. The stock looks good. You got kind of this. I mean, it hasn't been nice to hold, but it's just Bitcoin on leverage. That's all it is. Any of these equities that are Bitcoin related, they're just Bitcoin on leverage. The thing about purchasing a mining stock, though, is mining stocks can. Companies can go out of business. Bitcoin's never going to go out of business. Companies can go out of business. CleanSpark can fuck up, right? You have humans behind the wheel, and humans always fuck up. So that's one thing to take into consideration when you're buying these stocks is their performances and leadership. Their stock performance is a reflection of their leadership. Now, I will say these guys are locked in. These guys are dialed in. These guys are really, really responsible people that have really smart advisors. And CleanSpark is a very impressive company. They're under good leadership as it stands right now. So you don't really need to worry about them coming out with negative news that would crash the price. But it is a consideration. basically, I don't even know how to chart this really. Like, you just follow Bitcoin. When Bitcoin's rallying, CleanSpark's making money. When CleanSpark's making money, they got good, they have good quarterly earnings to share that pumps the stock value up. So, I'm not much of a stock trader. I don't really play in this world. But yeah, I don't know. Inverse head and shoulders, massive inverse head and shoulders. If we want to play games, right on this support/resistance flip, neckline way the fuck up here. I mean, it can go, man. It can go. This could easily, in the right market conditions, this thing could easily get to over $100 a share, and it's at $7. So you got a 10x at least. If Bitcoin's rallying and doing really well, you can see this get to at least $70 to $100 a share. Not financial advice, just some dude who literally doesn't trade stocks telling you about stock prices. I think at this case, Track is the only one that has a real future. I don't think, Track's infrastructure might be used on the Bitcoin network, but we don't need the Track token. Just like Chainlink, man. Just like Chainlink. Chainlink is a perfect example of the future of Track. Go to Chainlink BTC. If you want to know, like, am I going to hold a shitcoin long term, or should I just hold Bitcoin? Boom, there's your answer. What should you hold long term? This chart just keeps going down. What should you hold long term? Bitcoin. Because Chainlink BTC, this is the future of Track. This is the future of Track. Let's actually pull Track up, see if we can overlay it. No, can't really do much. All right, well, let's just say, it looks like it's on an absolute low. So let's say Track does what Chainlink did last cycle, 5,000%. So let's take Track off. Let's go to Track. Where's our Track? Where's Track? There's Track. Oops. And let's slap a little 5,000%er on there. See what that looks like. Oh, that's not what we want. Where is it? Where'd it go? There it is. $5,000%, $17. I think it can actually do higher than that. I had much higher, if you go by market cap, it can go much higher than Chainlink did. Or sorry, if it'll go to a much higher price than what I just said. If it goes to the market cap of Chainlink, which it doesn't have to, but if it did, it's like $500. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I don't know if there's enough time to get Track to rally that high. I think that's a little bit of a far-fetched endeavor. $20 seems a lot more reasonable at this point. But anyways. It's BTC. Yeah, why hold anything else? If everything that you measure against makes you less Bitcoin, that means you should just hold Bitcoin. Let's take a look at Sonic. How's Sonic doing? Nothing. I'm going to look at Sonic a lot, but and I'm going to wait for me to buy Sonic. Sonic is a sleeper. And a lot of people are already awake on Sonic, okay? I know that there's plenty of Sonic fans out there. I'm recently awakened. Sonic's going to pull a Solana from last cycle. Let's actually take a look at that. Let's take a look at Solana last cycle in Bitcoin terms. What did Solana do in Bitcoin terms? So I'm going to pull it from here. Look at Solana last cycle. Doing Bitcoin. I'm going to pull it from here to be a little bit more conservative. So it did 1,800% last cycle in Bitcoin terms. Let's see what it did in dollar terms. Why not? Sol USD. No, we need an older chart. Geez, big difference. Big difference. 21,000%. Good Lord. Why are we even doing this? This is nonsense. So if my theory, emphasis on theory, if my theory that Sonic pulls a Solana, here's some fucking hopium for you. Here's some nonsensical price objectives for you. It'll go to $100, just shy of $100. Currently sitting at 47 cents. That would be insane. That would be quite the multi-bagger. Not expecting it. It's just for fun. It's just for fun. Ultimately, you know, as for anybody who's watched the channel for a while, you know that I don't do price predictions. I don't do price predictions because they create anchoring biases. And anchoring biases are how you get stuck holding bags. I trade altcoins based off of a visual representation of that rotation in Bitcoin dominance. I can see that we're in altcoin season. I will trade Bitcoin once, you know, I'm going to trade the producing asset for a strategic altcoin. And then as long as that is falling, I'm going to hold that altcoin. As soon as it reaches the support of Bitcoin dominance, I sell that altcoin back into Bitcoin. I don't give a fuck what the prices are. I don't care what the price is. I might walk away with 20%. I might walk away with 20,000%. We have no idea. But I'm basing the decisions based off of Bitcoin dominance and Bitcoin performance. When I think Bitcoin's topped, altcoins have topped. And I don't try and wait because altcoins top like 2 weeks later. I don't even bother trying to wait for that to try and squeeze more out of it. I don't care about the prices of altcoins. I just know that there are periods of time where altcoins outperform Bitcoin and they can get it. And that's it. That's effing nuts. Yeah, it is nuts. It's crazy. It's nonsensical. We can't really talk about stuff like that. Doesn't make sense. It's unfathomable. What's Dog with Hat doing? I haven't looked at this one in a while. Well, we called the break. Oof, man, that's a rug. That's a rug. Meme coins. I haven't looked at meme coins in a while. Memes got fucking rugged, bud. Memes got rugged hard. Yikes. Pour one out for the meme coin homies. What is that? That's got to be over 99%. That is a fucking rug, my friend. 93% down. For those who don't know, when you're like 90% down, it takes so much effort to get you back to zero. So 93% down. To get back to where you were, if you bought the top, it needs to rally 1,500% for you to break even. There is a compounding effect to drawdowns. A lot of alts will draw down. Let's give it credit. We'll say alts drop down around 80%. So that's, you know, Bitcoin and Ethereum in a bear market will drop like 80%. For you to break even, if you bought the top, you have to rally 300%. So you can see that compounding effect. 80%, you only need to rally 300. If you go down 93%, you have to go up 1,500%. There's an exponential compounding effect there. And if you're a hexagon, that's down quite literally 99%, the amount that you have to rally to get out of hex is 12,000%. Life-changing money to get back to zero. Not to be super fun. I'm sorry. Pepe, do we really want to do this? Do we really want to go through all the fucking scams that took people for a ride? I'm all for it. Let's do it. Pepe held up better than Dog with Hat. Literally criminal. Yeah, I mean the judge is out on that. We got the crime mob's big boss saying it's okay to rug. Trump has a rug. 80%. That's not bad. That's no Dog with Hat. Hawk Tua. Yeah, that one. I feel sorry for her. Honestly, like, if anybody's angry at Hawk Tua girl, you're angry at the wrong person. She has no clue what the fuck was going on. She got taken for a ride, man. She got taken for a ride. Should she have done due diligence? Sure, she should have. But we're talking about some internet meme girl, young girl, very naive girl, getting caught up in, advanced cryptography degen fucking criminals. And so, yeah, she got hammered hard. No, I know. I think a lot of people see that she got taken for a ride. All right, let's recap Bitcoin and let's get out of here. Let's wrap it up. So, like we said, let's go to the index chart. Like we said, we need to reclaim this blue box. If we can reclaim this blue box, we have a shot at breaking the downward sloping line of resistance that's right here. If we can break that downward sloping line of resistance for the second time in a week, we might have enough follow through to stay above it. And if we stay above that downward sloping line of resistance, I think that's the beginning of a much larger move. That's the beginning of a much larger move. I'm not talking us going to, 90,000 or us going to 94. If we break that in the next couple days, where we've had 2 attempts to break that downtrend in a week, I think that's the beginning of a rally that will end at a new all-time high. So we'll see. You're welcome for the hopium. We'll see. The negative side of that, the bearish side to that, is we are concerned that this is an LPSY, last point of supply, for the Wyckofians out there, with this upthrust and this upthrust over here. It's definitely noteworthy. I'm just hoping, and at this point, I think it is hope. I'm hoping that this inverse head and shoulders has legs, but a lot of the cooperation needs to come from where? It's got to come from the S&P. If the S&P doesn't cooperate, if the S&P doesn't rally and the S&P takes down to lower levels, we'll see you at 70K. Bitcoin's going to go down. Bitcoin's going to go down in a scary way. So that's the bearish. I'm still holding out bullish. I still think we can have some repair of the trend. And if we get a green day on the S&P, we might get that shot that we're talking about. But yeah, that's all the time I have for today. If you guys enjoyed this content, please leave it a like. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to go check out blackbox.pro. That is BLKBöX.pro. Create your free Bitcoin trading bot dashboard today. All we need is an email and a password, and you can get into the dashboard. Once you are in your dashboard, you can join the free server. So please join the server through the Discord link that is in your account. If you don't do that, there is an added verification step. That added verification step is annoying. This is a way for us to keep out scammers. The problem with running a free product and the problem with having a free and open Discord server is you get a lot of impersonators and a lot of scammers. We have checks and balances to keep them out, to keep the community safe, to make sure that you guys are well taken care of and not getting these scam DMs. So there's a few hoops that you got to jump through. So sorry that it's not just click in and join the Discord. We would have loved for it to be that easy, but scammers are a problem. We're going to keep them out. We're going to keep you guys safe. So please jump through the hoops and we'll see you guys in the Discord. That is all the time I have for today. Please trade safe. It is